You're not welcome here. Move.
Excuse me, do you know how to get to town?
Yeah, it's back the way you came.
Hello friends and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily cringe content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact and it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up if you want. Today we're jumping into r/LegbeardStories. This is actually a story that was posted to my personal subreddit r/ReddX reads, but it is indeed still a Legbeard story. It is The Ballad of Peggy Sue. Only posted one day ago, but I think it does have a rather important message about being yourself and not apologizing for it. On top of the moral, I mean, it's a Legbeard story, and don't we love Legbeard stories around here? Heck yes we do. I was gonna get into Bowlerbeard today, but wifey is out of commission already, so we're gonna make do with this. You're gonna expect some Bowlerbeard tomorrow, and then we'll have a second episode up of a mystery subreddit in about 8 hours, so count that on down. I hope you're looking forward to it. We'll get some plugs and disclaimers out of the way as we do, and then we will dive right into some Legbeard cringe. The Ballad of Peggy Sue. Hey guys, longtime lurker and avid viewer here. Hi, Split Additional. I figured I would take a stab at writing a story about a Legbeard encounter that I recently had and see if maybe Mr. ReddX might be interested in giving it a read. Oh, Mr. ReddX was so official around here. Just Red is fine, or Dayton, or whatever you want. The story happened to me the other night, and I've been meaning to get it off my chest. I'm not gonna waste time on introductions, so let's just get right into it. Dang, this feller means business. I live and work up in New England. Every man ought to be his own boss. Ooh, preach. You get to choose who you work with, which is always nice, and make your own hours. I hired on a very dear friend of mine whom we shall call Mark. A good enough guy in his own right, but with some neckbeard adjacent tendencies which might see themselves into another story at some future date. Mark and I were working a job renovating an old trailer from the 70s that some yuppie with too much money wanted to see transformed into their personal art studio, man. Fine by me. I feel that, dude. Money's money. You got too much? Yeah, I'll take some of that. That's fine. After a long week of sanding and scraping peeling paint, we were exhausted and covered in dust, as working men are wont to do. And also as working men are wont to do, we desired copious amounts of liquor. Oh yeah, unwind. I'ma tell Johnny Walker all about my day, speaking to the bottle. I parked in a public lot not far from his house and walked over to his place, and we drank a few tall boys. However, this was not enough. Oh no. And so we agreed that I would go on a run to pick up a couple more tall boys for each of us. I made my way down to the truck for something or other that I'd forgotten inside when I heard the raspy, phlegm-choked voice of an angel with a 2-pack-a-day cigarette habit. I turned around to see who was addressing me and beheld a woman in her late 50s or early 60s, her leathery pug-like face contorted into a toothless grin directed at the strapping young lad. That was me. I bid her good evening and went to my truck and found what I had been searching for, probably my phone if memory serves correctly, and then locked up the doors. I was not off the hook so easily, however, of course. No, I had crossed paths with none other than old Peggy Sue. Hey, Miss Peggy Sue, how you doing? She eats nothing but cigarettes and malt liquor and biscuits and mustard. She asked me my name, and I responded with the expected politeness due your elders. Aw, OP's a good guy. And she asked me what I was doing out here. I didn't make my way through this town very often, and I was only in the area because I had a job up on the hill. I informed her that I was on my way to buy some beer for myself and a friend, and she quickly insisted that she had drinks at her house and that I ought to come over and join her instead. I informed her that I was not drinking alone tonight, and had a friend with me whom I promised that I would see again with liquor in tow. She said,
Not to worry.
and that
He could come over as well.
then she asked me with a flirtatious undertone if
I liked her nails.
I replied that, yeah, they were quite lovely, as dismissively of her, trying to be as dismissive of her advances as possible while still being polite. And then I remarked that I would consider her offer. Oh no, bro. This isn't gonna go well at all. Rather than dismiss the offer in its entirety, as any rational man ought to do, and just go right to the liquor store pretending this entire encounter did not even happen, I decided to report back to Mark about this fascinating new turn of events. I opened the door to his apartment and found him in the kitchen and told him what had just unfolded. Hopefully Mark is like, hell no, dude, but then we wouldn't have our Legbeard story, so I know in my heart that they do end up going, and it's horrible. OP, hey bro, check this out. So I was in the parking lot and I met one of your neighbors and she invited us over for drinks. Mark, really? Wanna go over there? Whoa. OP, there's a catch. She's ancient, made of leather, and definitely trying to fuck. Free drinks though. Oh man, those drinks are not worth the price of admission. I'll tell you right now. I mean, some people are into it, you know what I mean? She's well within her rights to try and get her groove on. But you shouldn't feel obligated or pressured into it, OP. The way I see it, after all the free drinks girls have taken from me over the years and then just bailed, why shouldn't we? Oh dang, got a little chip on your shoulder, huh? Oh man, let me tell you friends, nothing is free. I knew this going into the situation. There would be some toll paid along the way, and that's my suspicion as well. This is bad. Mark, I mean, if you're down for it, bro, we can go. Whoa. OP, look, I'm not gonna go over there alone, man. I'm not trying to get raped. I also don't want to spend a fortune on booze, and she's got some weed too. Are you in this with me or not? Mark, what the hell? Why not? Whoa. With Mark in tow, we delved into the breach. God. I hope that's just a euphemism. I don't want to have to take that too literally. She only lived a couple of doors down, and we were at her house in mere moments. An old man sat on the porch smoking cigarettes. I asked him if this was Peggy Sue's house, and he responded in the affirmative, whereupon I told him that we were the guests of honor for the evening. He rolled his eyes and told us to stay safe. What the hell's that supposed to mean? And we went up to the yawning portal that was her doorway and knocked. Like the croak of a toad waiting in the reeds, a voice yelled for us to come in. I opened the door and was instantly struck in the face with that smell of stale cigarettes and just a hint of cat urine. That's a Legbeard nest, all right. While not overpowering, it was still not pleasant. At least alcohol numbs the senses, right? It's gonna need a lot of numbing. Inside, I found myself following a trail through stacked boxes, full of odds and ends, into the bowels of this apartment unit. What passed as a living room was feverishly cluttered with detritus of every type, all overseen by a primitive-style mahogany statue of a tribal woman that had been related to a coat rack. Total hoarder house. Paper crunched and cans rattled with every step that I took, until I found myself seated upon a sofa, and I pleadingly looked at Mark to sit beside me, lest I have to share this love seat with Leatherface. It got me good, but it's cold, man. He ignored my contorted grimace as he scanned the room, and after moving a couple boxes of neglected memories, took a seat in the recliner, despite the perfectly good, cleared-off seat right beside me, and I shot him an ugly scowl. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of your fault that you guys are even in the house, right? Should've just bought the booze and went home. That's fine. I'll pay for it. Anything to avoid social interaction. I don't want to go over to a stranger's house, free booze or no. Anyways, Peggy Sue came out from the depths of this house. She had taken the sign of company coming over as an invitation to slip into something a little more provocative. Oh no. The sight of the sagging, cellulite-packed cacti, oh God, that she called her thighs, provoked my animal instincts to flee, alright. I'm not one to flee from a fight, however, particularly when there was free rum to be had. The kitchen was adjacent to the living room and well within sight, and I watched her attentively, making sure that there were no surprise additions as she fixed beverages for Mark and I. Honestly, I would have insisted that I pour the drink myself, you know? Maybe she got some poisons like already sitting in the bottom of the glass and then she just pours drinks on top. And then you're like, oh, I didn't see her put anything in it because it was already in there. No. I'll inspect my glass or bring my own glass preferably. Pour my own drink. I'm good. I hope this doesn't get super bad. I found out after the fact that Peggy Sue is a bit of a local legend for this, and my wariness was proved merited. Mark took on another job with a few different guys after the trailer wrapped up, and got to talking about her. It seems she had a history of trying to date rape men by drugging their drinks. Oh my God. One of the men on the crew was almost taken as a victim of hers, but was saved by the fact that she failed to efficiently crush her knockout drugs into a soluble powder. His first clue that something was wrong was that his drink was chunky. It's hard to work this mortar and pestle with this arthritis creeping up on me. What the hell, man? Almost a quarter bottle of rum went into one glass, just topped with pineapple juice. And the other received the trailing ends of the bottle in the amount of a single shot, mixed the same. She came back and handed me the first glass, which was the much stronger of the two drinks, and then she gave the other one to Mark. She had chosen her mark, or her target rather, as we don't want to get the names confused or whatever. And I was in her sights. I graciously accepted a delicious pineapple rum cocktail and sunk into the seat, tactfully avoiding any and all conversation, forcing Peggy Sue to interact with Mark in my stead, while I just sipped my booze in comfort and quiet. I began to zone out in a comfy, alcoholic haze when something snapped me back to reality, and I felt the pangs of rapidly escalating concern. Peggy Sue,
You wanna see the orgasmatron?
I really don't. Please, no. What unholy den had we stumbled into? My mind instantly darted to a collection of bad dragon dildos. The question had been directed at nobody in particular, and I had gone silent as purple rubber phalluses bobbed and danced in my mind's eye. You're killing me. Mark chimed in that, yeah, he was okay, whoa. But that perhaps, maybe, OP might be interested. I insisted that, no, it's quite alright. I don't need to see it. I'm sure it's excellent and you do not have to show me. This did not deter her, however. She insisted that she show off her, toy. No. Is this real life? Come on now. This is some wild shit. She walked over to the couch where I sat and unceremoniously leaned over me, her aged, sagging breasts dangling against my arm, causing me to recoil in disgust. God damn it. I scooted out of the way to the far seat while she fumbled in the trash-filled corner until she finally retrieved it. It was a wooden handle upon which several pieces of pipe cleaner, lol, had been attached. and then she jammed it on my head despite my protests and began to wobble it back and forth. Admittedly, it felt quite good, and had it actually been an attractive person doing it, I probably would have been inclined to take her up on the offer of a mattress on the garbage-buried floor. This whole story's a mess, dude. I'll get to it at the end. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent. But holy crap, I got some thoughts. Instead, it only evoked a sense of confusion, which I still grapple with to this day. After she finished, I remarked that it was rather nice, and I might have to borrow the device for my own personal amusement sometime. She insisted that
It was better if you let someone else do it.
I'm good, I thought, and I replied the same. And that's when she decided to go full tilt into her seductive game. Peggy Sue.
You know, if you guys live here, you probably heard about me by now. Some people say I've got AIDS. But that's not true. It's just a rumor I spread about myself to make sure nobody tries to rape me. Yeah, I shot a lot of dope when I was living in San Francisco, but that don't mean I got the AIDS, you know? Can you believe that people are still stupid enough to believe that?
She spread this rumor about herself? What? This is part of the seductive game? I got so many questions, man. Holy hell. If it wasn't a nope before, it's a fucking double plus nope now. Ladies, please bear with me. If you're trying to seduce somebody, as a rule of thumb, you probably shouldn't talk about your needle habit. It's handy hands for life. Get the notebook out. As a second rule of thumb, mentioning that people actively talk about the integrity of your sexual health and insinuate that you have a sexually transmissible disease that has killed countless people, but it's only a rumor that you created about yourself, tee-hee. It's not going to win you any brownie points toward getting a man hard. Oh, God, what a train wreck. What's more, on point two, the kind of low-impulse, high-risk person who would rape you probably isn't actually concerned on whether you have AIDS or not. And as my third and final rule of thumb, if you live in a podunk, hokey, rural Vermont town that hasn't even seen a shoplifter in years, the odds that there are rapists around every corner is highly unlikely, and only conveys a deep-seated level of paranoia and self-importance that makes even the despicable orange man's self-aggrandizement pale in comparison. Oh, man. Can you say it again? Rewind the video? I wasn't writing fast enough. Holy heck. I think OP hit the nail on the head, though. OP, fucking gross. It got real quiet after that. Peggy Sue had felt the wind in her sails abate and decided then that perhaps it would be best at this point if she simply stopped talking and put on a movie. I was entirely on board with this. Humoring her insanity was a tiresome ordeal. She went over to the cabinet where her DVD collection awaited and opted for a film called The Hunt, which she insisted was singularly the greatest movie ever made. Was that like Hunt for Red October or something? You getting on Steam, you're playing Hunt Showdown with the 70-year-old woman? No, I don't know what this movie is. And OP apparently has never seen this movie before either. From what I watched, though, I will offer the following synopsis, and I will probably incur some hate and fallout from rabid sycophants for it, but I don't care, because the truth needs to be said, and it's becoming more and more apparent as the days go by that there aren't enough adults in the room to rationally express it. The Hunt is a power fantasy created by Hollywood LARPers about hunting white Americans. Yee. It's a thematic ripoff of The Most Dangerous Game, with a racially motivated overtone slapped on top. Jesus, it sounds horrible. Even the synopsis makes me uncomfortable. What the hell? Oh God. This movie occupied a place of particular reverence for Miss Peggy Sue. As she sat beside me on the couch, she quoted it, line for line, excitedly explaining the pretense of plot as it flickered on the silvery screen of the living room. I don't know how far I made it into the film. I have a very strict no mainstream media policy that I abide by for several reasons. Heard that, OP. Burn your TV. Watch YouTube, specifically ReddX. When it got to a scene inside what was supposed to be a gas station, outside the boundaries of a fence of the game preserve, the hunted had arrived, only to find themselves in a booby trap that cost several of their lives. The scene crescendoed in bloodshed, and was summarily closed by a close-up of the hunter, remarking that, "Boy, we're just the worst, aren't we?" What the hell is this? Now you can have your self-hatred in movie format. Okay, great. Peggy Sue looked over at me in her best semi-drunken stupor, her beady little pug eyes gleaming in the dark of that crowded apartment with lust and desperation, and quoted the line verbatim to me, expecting my glowing approval. I stood up, nodded to Mark, and asked if he was ready to leave. He got up as well, and he wished her a good night, whoa! And we both disappeared into the evening. Kind of an anticlimactic end there, but I'm glad she let you go. Ladies, perhaps my final piece of advice to you is this. If you're attracted to someone and you want to bed down with them, do not guilt or shame them on the basis of their immutable characteristics. Don't be surprised if they find your projection of your own self-loathing a turn-off either. Beyond making you look like nothing else but an asshole, unmerited feelings of guilt and shame are perhaps the most unhealthy foundation upon which you can start a relationship with another person. I can overlook the pug face and the saggy titties, but I can't overlook someone's irrational choice to hate people on the basis of things that they cannot change about themselves, like their sex or race. I don't care what the latest dehumanization propaganda out of Hollywood says, because Hollywood is not history. And on the subject of history, you can't atone for grievances that you've never committed. And anyone who tries to make you do so won't stop at that express set of hoops for you to jump through. You will never be able to appease them. Long story short, don't humor people who want to dehumanize you. Man, well said. And I'm sure as well said as it is, it's going to cause some dissent, but I applaud you for telling the story, OP. Drunkenly, I stumbled back to my truck to retire for the evening, since I was overnighting in town and wouldn't be home for the next couple of days. The course of this night had worn me thin, and I was ready to get some shut-eye. Mark and I had a good chuckle about the course of the evening, and we parted ways, agreeing to meet up the following morning at the diner for breakfast. As soon as my head touched the pillow, I passed out into an alcoholic slumber, and did not awaken until the next morning, whereupon I found a lovely note taped to my window.
You're not welcome here. Move.
Stay classy, Peggy Sue. Thanks for the drinks. Oh boy. I don't know if this story has quite the moral that I was told that it did, but at the end of the day, yeah, it is a story about being yourself and not apologizing for it. And I think that's admirable. I stay very, very far away from racial politics for obvious reasons, and I don't necessarily know if I can agree with the story as a whole, but I definitely do agree with a zero-tolerance discrimination policy, especially based upon things that are, as OP said, immutable characteristics. You know, we're born as we are born, and the main goal should just be to not make life more difficult for other people. I'm all about those comfy feels and those good vibes, you know? And well, as I said, it seems like OP has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Peggy Sue definitely has some hatred festering in her heart, but my sympathetic side also sees her as a human. Yes, a human who has some problems, has been through some shit, maybe is not very well liked by the community living around her, so they don't want to help her out. But she brought most of that on herself by sexually assaulting the majority of people who go into her home. This is just terrifying. She could be redeemable. I don't want to think the worst about people, but I think Peggy Sue and the OP both have some issues that they need to work through. Although I must admit to myself that Peggy Sue's issues seem far more numerous. I'm glad you got a couple of drinks. I hope you did get out of that town eventually. And I legitimately hope that OP and Peggy Sue are able to find peace within themselves. And I hope the same for you as well, friends. Please let me know if you enjoyed this video by liking, commenting, and or subscribing. Maybe share it around if you should like. We've got a bunch of links as well in the description. I'd appreciate if you go clicking around down there. You know, we got all kinds of plugs and stuff. And there's also my social media and my Patreon, which features my gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful, generous patrons. Yes, the name list is finally updated. So these are all of them, and I would like to thank them all. But especially Calvicus, Fatboy Shrimp, Robert Waits, TSM Kirby, Teddy the Police, Aaron W., Delicious Jelly Donut, Candy Sora, Fire Drake, Liverson, Silent Revolver, Zathras, Zero MMX, Little Lone Wolf, Happy Birthday Little Lone Wolf, Vanilla Mel, Ralph Stour, Caustic Fox, Derpy Tricks, Aaron Lennox, Fisher Diggy, Hypat Japan, OG James Cook, JM Coon, Jerry, John Hero, Miss Monday, Magdalene Marshall Thornrose, Melgar the Destroyer, Mirthful Baker, Mr. J, my boy Nat One Nick, Lady Nix, Katykins Elizabeth, Sidestep, Cider Drinker, Serrated Ash, Siegfried, Steampunk Ellie, Synaptic Boomstick, Brilliant Tamago, Tato Ferret, That Duck and Bug, Fusky, Treeberg, Redwin, Goose's Honk, Leon Embers, Naga Viper, John Endors, A-Roxers, Cake Jerry, that's a different Jerry. Crafty Kitty Cat, Mark 211, maybe next time, Origami Cam, Princess Rosalie, Ghosty, The Last Shinobi, and the Maestro himself, Zuka Cervantes. Thank you guys so very much for supporting the channel. It does mean the world to me. It keeps me highly motivated, so motivated, in fact, that we are indeed going to have a second episode coming up a little bit later tonight. So I hope you guys are looking forward to it. If you would like to join these lovely people, that is absolutely massive. I thank you very much in advance. But if you can't right now, don't sweat it too hard, friends. I just appreciate you spending some of your day with me, and I hope that you come on back and do the same tomorrow. In order to do so, you need to keep yourself safe out there, wash your hands, but also take some time out and do something that you personally enjoy today. Maybe watch some more ReddX videos, yes! Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, and you definitely deserve it. I shall see you in the next one. And until then, friends, bye-bye.